She was like that one day we had to shoot that commercial. Let's see.
You just don't even worry about the introduction. Just go into it. It don't have to be fun.
Nah, I feel like I got
You know what I'm saying? Just
let it be free.
just roll with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, at some point you'll figure out who I am and who this guy is. Okay. So, Mr. Jackson, what made you want to start teaching?
In middle school, I started being in band in third grade, and then in middle school, my teacher really, inspired me to do more with music. I also feel like, hold on, just pause. I just feel like I'm not authentic right now. I think I just tried to be very
y'all just conversate, honestly.
Yeah.
Really?
But you could
so
touch on topics.
Don't worry about the questions. So
don't ask me the
okay. Tell me about the first fight you ever witnessed in school.
The first fight I've ever witnessed?
Yeah. Like whether it was your own school experience or teaching experience.
So, okay, yeah, now that you mentioned that, my first day of teaching was, I'm not going to say the school, but I was teaching middle school choir in Ohio, and then, I had my name on the board, I had all my laptop set up, I had everything all ready to go, and these girls walked in, and they just started bucking, day one, hi, my name is Mr. Jackson, this is, 8th grade choir, and then just, boom, fight, first day. 2 girls.
Did that, when you saw that, did it give you any thought on how teaching was going to be from that point on?
Yeah, it taught me, just in that moment, this is real deal. Yeah. Everything I learned in college was, you got to do this way. You got to make sure that the students get accommodated. You got to make sure that you're teaching, the right way for everybody. And then you get in first day and it's boom, there's a fight. I don't ever remember taking a class of how to deal with fights in school. Yeah. So it was just real deal. Okay, this is it.
So do you think teaching is almost more so about not what they told you to do, but how you adapt to every class and whatnot?
I think teaching is people want to be, teachers want to teach the way they were taught. The way I was taught was through mentorship. So I think teaching is more of using what you the book knowledge and everything, and using that to really inspire kids. Outside of all the music classes that I teach, it's my goal is to make the students better people, and the music is just a way for them to, succeed at that.
I see what you're saying. When it comes to how you teach, do you integrate your dreams for the kids to kind of get a better understanding of how they should, take on what they want to do in life?
So you asked me, am I pushing them the way that I want them to go?
Yeah, or you kind of, you're, how you go about life, you try to show them the same amount of
Yeah, I try to do that, but I also kind of back off because they have to learn. They have to, there's certain things that I want to intervene on so much because I'm dang, they do it. They just need to avoid it altogether. But in certain aspects, it's you know what, they gotta learn it. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe it's an interpretation that I only know, and I'm assuming that that they only know one perspective. So I kind of jump in when I need to, but also give students their space to kind of just learn it.
Yeah, give them teach themselves while I teach.
It's they're playing in the game, but I'm the coach.
Yeah, of course.
You essentially have to make the play. You have to go to the hoop. Make the basket. I'm just on the sideline directing you, and sometimes I don't have to say anything. I'm just going to let you make that play, and then we can discuss later.
Of course. So, throughout your whole teaching career, do you feel what do you feel like you've wanted to do with the way you educate kids? Like, what do you want out of, modern day education or whatnot?
Personally, I think there should be more emphasis on the fine arts, just as a whole. I think that is really the thing that pushes kids, because one is creative, for them to expand upon their mind, but two, it's like it shows that it improves test scores. You know what I'm saying? It shows that intellectual people are like the artists, the cooks, the musicians, the singers, the hairdressers, things that are the creative, and I think education should be pushed more towards that. But also, I think education should be more real. Outside of music or band, I didn't remember learning how to do my finances.
Yeah.
I don't remember learning how to handle bills. Thank God for my parents, but kids don't know how to do that. Yeah. So the push of this textbook way of just kids need to learn this, then this, then this, and this, it's like at a certain point, when do we teach kids about just life, about just living? And how do you be yourself? Like, if you were raised in a family that was, sheltered and you was one way, like, how do you find yourself in the midst of all of that? How do you find your, we were just talking about goals. Like, how do you reach your goals, but no one ever pushed you towards that? How do you know how to, be that person that you want to be, but you're so used to, you got to do this step. You got to learn this way. Then when you're in 12th grade, you got to learn about your FAFSA. Then you got to apply to college. Then it's like, what about the kid in the back who doesn't want to go to college, who wants to do something completely different? Yeah.
It doesn't gear towards every kid. It's like almost like a cookie cutter type of thing.
Yeah, that needs to be thrown away. It needs to be, I don't know what it looks like, you know what I'm saying, because I was raised in that same cookie cutter way of education, but, I think there should be some leeway where we just have to get rid of it.
Yeah, I feel you. Do you feel, how do I say this? I don't know, this is I had this question set up, but do you, because you're black, does it make it any different, working, at all, specifically at school and, with different teachers and how they interact with you, stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, being black, it affects a lot of everything. You know what I'm saying? From how I was always raised to mind myself. Just because at a certain age, black boys get looked at as an adult. So I'm saying that I'm 15 and 16, but society is going to see me as an adult. Yeah. So I was always raised on those principles. Like, at a certain age, you got to just grow up and mind yourself. But, I grew up around white people and a few Asians in my elementary school. Middle school was the same way. High school was kind of half and half, and then it became more black. And then in college, I went to a HBCU. I went to a black college, and that was amazing, because it was people that looked like me. It was, I was comfortable, with everything that was going on. And I really feel like that helped me, get my degree.
Of course.
But as far as teaching, my student taught in Xenia, Ohio, and it was predominantly white. And it was just, I had to just take on a different persona there, you know what I'm saying? Because I was just a novice at teaching. I didn't want to, screw nothing up. So I didn't want to go in there being that guy, you know what I'm saying? That black guy, you know what I'm saying? I just had to take on that role of, I need to learn how to teach, and that comes with, am I going to get a job in a white district? I need to know how to handle that type of situation, these type of kids. Now, when I taught my first year, I was in an all-black district, so the teaching style was completely different because I was able to relate to the kids in a different way. I can understand certain things that they were going through by being black. So that's one of the things, that being black, it does affect. And even as black teachers, as a black male, I'm looked at as a disciplinarian. I'm looked at as the person, well, go to Mr. Jackson. He'll get you right. Mr. Jackson, we have this child as a problem. And it's like sometimes I'm not even disciplining them. I'm just nurturing and talking to them like, hey, what's going on? Why did you do this? Disciplining is screaming and yelling, and you want me to scorn them. You want me to put them in their place because maybe it's a black boy and you can relate to him. Which in certain aspects I can, but certain aspects I cannot just because we're black. Like I wasn't raised like in a impoverished environment. You know, my parents, you know, middle class, but still technically probably, you know, poor on the technical side. But, you know, my parents had jobs. Me and my sister, we were, you know, pretty much good. So when it comes to relating to black kids and that, it's like I can only relate so far because I wasn't raised in that. But from the outside looking in, people kind of be like, well, here's a black boy who has a problem. Mr. Jackson, you should be able to talk to him and mentor him and set him straight, which is true, but it's like that's not always the case.
I feel you. Now, even though you do get looked at like that or viewed upon in that way, do you feel like they're almost doing the better thing when they send kids to you instead of maybe, you know, like Mr. Orr or whoever?
Yeah, I don't think it's with any type of malicious or harm. You know, I don't think it's like, you know, if I want to just point the elephant out in the room like racist or anything like that, I don't think that it is that. I just think that that's just kind of what is viewed on the outside looking. I don't think people naturally, but it makes sense though. Yeah. Like I should be the person that should be able to mentor this young black boy, you know. Yeah. But sometimes that's not always the case. You know, I had non-black teachers that taught me well, you know, but I also had those black guys who mentored me, you know, and black women who mentored me throughout school. So it should be that, but it's almost like it doesn't have to be that, you know. It could be any other teacher who can mentor a student, you know, because like I said, when I student taught, I still was talking to the students and mentoring them. And even though it was like it was a white school, but I still gave myself out to them just as I would any other student. But it's just the way I go about doing that. You know, I can talk to a young black boy the way I need to talk to him because we can just relate on that level. And it's something that is like kind of unsaid. It's just, we just know, like, you got to get yourself together, you know, versus, you know what, I think maybe you should do it this way, or talking, you know, in a different tone. It's just how I go about doing that.
Now, outside of teaching, is there, I guess, has teaching given you like different opportunities outside of teaching? If that makes sense.
Yes, teaching is like the foundation of what I do. You know, I do other stuff like music and things like that, and that really has been, you know, teaching has helped me get better at doing that because I really look to the students for inspiration at times. Mm-hmm. You know, some of y'all that was in music tech, you know, y'all would kick it up and make them 5 beats, and it's like, dang, I want to get like that. So I'm going back at home and I'm trying to, you know, see what y'all added so I can add it the same way. You know, that's just kind of, you know, that road that I take with that.
Yeah, that's good. Mm-hmm. I feel like with the younger generation of teachers, it's almost like they feel like it is a two-way teaching experience instead of just, you know, you can tell with older teachers and like sit down and listen to me.
Yeah, because like I knew the reason why that is I knew that I at sometimes knew what I was talking about when teachers said that I did not. Mm-hmm. It's like, I know I'm right and you're telling me I'm wrong, you know? Yeah. So why can't you just listen to me and understand me, and, you know, or maybe if I'm not right, how can you relate my wrongness to make me understand it better versus telling me that I'm... So we grew up in that kind of aspect, and I just wanted to not be that teacher. Like, my students call me out sometimes like, hey, Mr. Jackson, I don't think that's right. And I go back and fact check, and I'm like, you know what? You're right. Like, you was right. I'm wrong. Like, okay, good. Thank you for pointing that out. Versus me taking offense and getting in my ego and getting in my, you know, my bag and just be like, well, no, you're wrong. I'm the teacher. This is just what it is. Yeah. And knowing, like, I'm wrong. Like, you know, at the end of the day, you're wrong and that student is right. Because I was that student that's like, okay, I know I'm right. Like, I'm reading it right here and you're telling me that I'm wrong.
Yeah, I feel there's a lot of belittlement in the school systems now.
Yeah. Almost. It's like people expect teachers to be right 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that's essentially what a teacher is, like a master at what they do or what they, the content that they teach. So it only makes sense that, hey, if you are the band director, you should know everything about band. Like if you're the math teacher, you should know geometry, trigonometry, calculus. Like you should know it all because you're a math teacher. But that's not the case, So sometimes we're wrong and sometimes the students are right,
Yeah, not everyone can remember everything.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Let's see what I got here. Oh, okay, that's how. Now, when it comes to, I'd say, what you do is more of like raw teaching.
What do you mean?
Like, it's more of a humane way of teaching. How like people almost, the way you explain things, people catch because you're being relatable, not so like straightforward. This is that and this is that. You leave room for like gray space.
Mm-hmm.
The way you teach, or just like with teaching in general, how do you want change through education? Not like change in the educational system, but how would you want to change things with education? That makes sense.
That does make sense. Okay, so I teach at Central. I try to incorporate the demographics in what I teach. So I know that we have a Latin Hispanic population. I know that we have a Black population. I know we have an Asian, specifically Vietnamese population, Korean population, Africans. So all these different Eastern European, all of these different demographics, I try to incorporate that in how I teach. So in band, like we would do like a Hispanic song or a Latin song, or we do an African theme or something like that, because I can teach, historically through music. I can let you know that, these genres all relate because of this, and then you can understand it because, I pointed out that there's some Vietnamese or some American backgrounds in this music, so you can kind of relate to that, and then you become more cultured in the world. I think people who get out of high school, or students who get out of high school, who are just like in this box, your teacher never broke those walls down for you to really see outside of certain things. You go out into the world in that box, and it's so much going on around. So it's like I can bring the fact that majority of this class is I have some African and Caribbean students, so I'm gonna put some songs out that they can relate to, and we can teach, and we can learn, and you can go out on the world knowing that there's something beyond me. But even if the person that's in that class is maybe Asian or something like that, now they know now they know something that they can't relate to, and it's like, oh boom, this sounds like some music that my mom listens to at home, and I'm Asian or something like that, or this sounds like something that my dad will listen to, and he's he's Caribbean or something like that. So I think just breaking those walls down for students to just be more cultured and be more open-minded, that yes, you can always be this way, but it's better to just see the whole picture.
Now, you talking about that, I guess this is more of just conversation. What do you think the line is between like that, well, not even that, but like learning about someone else's culture opposed to like going too far and like using it?
So okay, there's a fine line. There's a fine line between that. I like in my travels, like if I go to a Middle Eastern country, over there I will try to appropriate myself into their culture, you know what I'm saying? So it's not offensive, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to come back home and start wearing their whole attire every day, because it's like that. it's the difference between like, boom, I'm there in the environment, you know, in Rome, do as the Romans do.
Rome, yeah.
But when I get home, I'm back to my regular giddy up, because that's not me. I can just appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't expect somebody to come, you know, to America, or even, I can't even say like, that's a whole nother conversation. But come to America, and then go back home and just completely dress like Americans do without just forgetting their, you know, their way of dressing or something like that.
But do you feel like you can do that? I feel like everyone
feel like
can
you
dress
can.
like an American.
That's what I was getting at. I can't.
Okay.
I was going to go the route of like dressing like a black person, but it's like that's a skewed line, because we don't really have.
Yeah.
We
Even
do,
though we all
but
do,
it's
yeah. Y'all
it's really like
shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be.
You know, but for example, it's like I don't expect somebody to just come and start wearing J's and doing all of that just because they see a black person over here and they think, you know, it just doesn't. But I think there's a fine line. But I also think that that's okay, if you will. I don't know.
No, yeah. I mean, you gotta, like, at some point,
I think
you gotta care enough, but also not, because it's not like they're trying to offend you. In a way, all the time. You know, it's just like, it's almost something y'all made cool.
Yeah, but is there a fine line between that though and how you respect that? You know, I don't know.
Now, I guess that makes me think of, as a black person, I feel like you are a lot more understanding than most.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel?
What do you mean understanding than most?
Like, you're willing to look at certain situations without having them be too tunnel vision, I'd say. Like how I just said
So
my idea
okay,
to
so
you.
why do you think that is?
Huh?
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that there are certain black people that are more tunnel vision than me per se, than you think that I'm more?
I'd guess it's, first of all, environment.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm sure, you know, your parents didn't seem to raise you as mad at the world as some people.
So do you think
They like, obviously they always reminded you of who you were, but it wasn't like, you know.
Do you think black families teach their children to be mad at the world?
No, I think that some kids are put in a position where they get mad at the world. You know, like not having a kid and mom's always working, that, you know, common situation, that's when you can get mad at the world and say, why is it like almost common that this is always happening to people like me?
Mm-hmm.
Things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel you where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a fine line between a black person being mad at the world or mad. It's so much to be mad at. You know what I'm saying? Like as a black person, like it's almost like pick your pick. Like, am I going to be mad at the fact that, you know, slavery happened, or can I look at the upside that, you know, I made it, you know, my family made it through that, and I'm here because of that. But then I could be mad at the fact that, you know, we never had to go through that if colonization had never happened. So it's like, but when you get past, like in modern day, you still have to be mad at a whole plethora of things. So it's like, to be mad at the world is like, it's crazy, and it's like I can choose. It's like I'm choosing to do that. Like I can also choose to hate everything that people have done to black people. You know what I'm saying? But it's really my choice to think beyond that, because I know at a certain point mentally you can't be binded by that. Like you can't be. That's like mental trauma to be thinking about the things that you're mad at every day. You know, and I'm blessed to have not been in that environment, because I can only imagine somebody who is poor or living in the hood, living in the projects, you know, dad is not there or mom is not there, you have multiple siblings, you don't have food, or the food that you're eating is very unhealthy, you don't have access to good education, you don't have access to, you can't walk out your house without thinking about getting shot, you know.
Yeah.
With all of that, and then I have to be mad at the fact of why I'm the way I am because of, you know, certain kids who grow up, they get mad at their parents about how they were raised, you know, because it's like, dang, why did my mom raise me in the hood? Why is that? And it's like, again, I don't really know, you know, because that's something that I can't relate to. But the kids that I've taught, is just, I just taught them from a way of, you don't need to repeat that. Like, it's always a choice, you know what I'm saying? Yes, sometimes the cards that we're dealt is like, I can't help the fact that cops are racist, or white cops are racist, or, you know, people are racist in general. I can only, you know, maneuver myself to where I have to grow outside of that and not hate or act in hate, you know, because I can, like, I'm just choosing not to, you know what I'm saying? So it's really, when we talk about that fine line, it's like, you can choose to be mad at the world, or you can choose to figure out something to not be, you know, to better yourself, because at the end of the day, I just feel like that may always be here. You know, I don't really see the change in people's mindset. Like, we can do all of these great things, but if you don't change, if I don't change, if somebody else doesn't change, like, we can always be tunnel vision, you know, at the end of the day, and not really relate. So I don't know about, you know, how that looks, but that fine line is definitely there about, you know, through choice.
Do you think it's okay for, like, do you think it'd be a better world if everyone understood everyone? But I feel like it's like sometimes black people don't even want them to understand, they just want justice, if that makes sense. Because it's almost like this circling cycle where it's like everyone says they understand, but then it just keeps happening.
So I can't speak on all black people.
Yeah.
Because everybody has their different scenarios. You know, my view is, I feel like at this point everybody understands everybody. I don't think there's room to say that you don't understand. Even if you don't understand, there's research that you can do. You know, you can look up certain things if you don't understand. And if you're willing to know how to treat someone better, or, you know. So an example, if I knew what makes you mad, you know what I'm saying, and you knew the thing that made me mad, that's understanding. Now, it gets worse when I do the very thing that pisses you off. You know, because then it's like, now you're just being disrespectful. Because at this point, we should know how, you know, through history it tells you, like, black people were slaves, like, black people. So it's like the mindset that people have when it comes to, well, y'all need to just get out your situation. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, that's, you know, that's the very thing that ticks us off, because you are the very thing that put us in this situation. So it's very like, it's very hard to, like, kind of relate to all of that, because it's every day. You know, it's every day. Like, you have to wake up every day in that. It's like, even me driving, like, a cop pulled behind me the other day, and it's like, I had to check myself. I'm like, did you just get scared? Did you just, like, really? And it just made me, like, it's trauma. Like, it's just the energy behind all of it is just like, maybe he's just getting over because he has to make a turn, which he did. And it's like, I had to check myself on,
but for a second you thought that.
What is my mental like? Am I really, like, I'm not past it, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, it still affects me. Like, people think, oh, you're more put together than, you know. But it's really not. Like, we all can share the same. Like, just because that person's in the hood doesn't make me more different or better. It's like, I feel the same.
Better than me.
I can feel the same thing you're feeling, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like the cops either. Like, it makes me feel some type of way when they're around. Homeboy does too. You know what I'm saying? We just live in different places. You know.
Yeah. I don't know what else I want to talk about. I feel like I should end it with maybe something like, with all this happening right now, do you feel like school and education has been undermined, almost like put to the side?
There has, historic wise, education has not changed much from its foundation. There was the big change from how modern day education now was like civil rights till now. You know, it's pretty much been the way education was formed after the civil rights movement. It's pretty much how it is now. Education moving forward, with everything that's going on, I think, like I said, should just be completely changed. You know, when it comes to what we're educating the students and how, you know, and kids are really going through it at this moment. You know, I can only imagine kids that have 4 and 5 siblings, not adequate, you know, food, or living in a hotel or any of those things. Like, now you have to deal with the fact of, I have to send my kid back to school because I have to go back to work because nobody can watch mine. You know, so it's like education needs to take all of that into account now. It's no longer that, you know, 1960s, 1970s way of doing things. It's like it has to just be completely different.
Yeah. Is it over? I don't know. Well, I'd like to thank you for tuning in. My name is John Davis, DTHB representative. You know who I am. This is Mr. Jackson, my former my former teacher, band director at Central Gwinnett High School. Proud black man.
Yeah. Always.
Always.
Every day.
So yeah, we'd like to thank you for tuning in. I guess that was very unprofessional, I think, but it's whatever.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
You can make some good clips out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
How do you feel about what's everything that's going on? Just
With everything, I don't know. Like, it's weird that this happened while the corona thing happened. Cause like.
Do you think it relates?
I guess. I think it's like.